thought they buried me, but I was the one digging my own grave. I remember the silence after it all fell apart, not the kind that soothes you, but the kind that deafens you, the kind that makes you realize how loud the world was when you still mattered. They said it was over for me. They said I was done, but endings have a strange way of pretending to be beginnings, and I was still breathing, barely. I used to be something, someone, full of fire, full of dreams. Now, I was just ashes clinging to the memory of what once burned. The kind of man who stares at the ruins and wonders if it was ever worth building in the first place. I looked around and saw ghosts, not of others, but of myself. Versions of me that smiled, that trusted, that believed in something pure. And I wanted to reach out, to bring them back. But my hands were shaking, and my chest was hollow. They thought they destroyed me. No, they just stripped away everything that was never real. Every false smile, every borrowed piece of hope, every illusion I built to survive. I wasn't dead, just emptied. There's a strange peace in losing everything. You stop caring about what they think. You stop bleeding for those who never noticed you were cut open. You stop pretending to be fine. I sat there, in the dust of my own collapse, and for the first time, I was honest. Honest about the weakness, the fear, the shame. Honest about how much it hurt to keep breathing when everything inside you wanted to stop. I used to pray for someone to save me, but the prayers got quieter, and one day, they stopped, because somewhere deep down, I realized no one was coming, and maybe that's when something else began to stir. Not hope, not yet, but something colder, something that didn't need saving. I started to understand that maybe being broken wasn't the end. Maybe it was just the first step, the burning of the old skin, the silence after the storm, the breath before rebirth. They buried what I was, but the dirt only fed what I was becoming. I can still feel the weight of it all, the pain, the betrayal, the ruin, but it no longer crushes me. It shapes me, because in the ashes of who I was, something darker, stronger, and far more dangerous began to breathe again. And this time, I won't crawl out. I will rise. They didn't just hurt me. They hollowed me, piece by piece, smile by smile, lie by lie. They smiled as they peeled my soul off bone, and I let them, because I thought love meant bleeding quietly. They said they cared, but their hands were cold, their eyes empty, their words sweet venom soaked in honey. Every promise was a knife, every kiss, a curse, every embrace, a trick of the light. They told me I was safe, while digging the pit behind my back. Told me I was special right before they fed me to the wolves. You think betrayal is loud? It's not. It's a whisper, a silence after the I love you, a look that says you're nothing, when once you were everything. They drained me of trust, of fire, of the belief that anyone might actually see me, and not just use me. They made me question my worth, my instincts, my sanity, gaslighted me into hating my own reflection, told me I was too much, then left me wondering why I wasn't enough. They played with my heart like it was a blade, smiled while watching me bleed, then called me dramatic for screaming. Friends, they vanished when the lights dimmed. Lovers, they loved the idea of me never the war beneath my skin. Family, only when it was convenient, only when I was silent, obedient, small. Do you know what that does to a soul? To give everything and be met with indifference, to be loyal and watched like a threat, to be honest and laughed at like a fool. They didn't take things I could replace. They took the parts of me I didn't know I could lose. My voice, my fire, my light. They didn't kill me. No, they just made me wish I was dead. And that's far more cruel, isn't it? To leave someone alive, but empty. But here's the part they forgot. When you take everything from a man, when you strip him to nothing, you give him the one gift he never had before. Freedom. Because now, there's nothing left to lose. No lies left to believe. No gods left to beg. They took my hope, so I filled the void with fire. They took my heart, so I grew a weapon in its place. Let them run. Let them pray. Let them hide behind the masks they wear so well. Because I remember what they took. I take everything back. They didn't kill me. They left me alive. Just enough to suffer. Not enough to scream. Not enough to fight. Just enough to feel everything. While being forgotten. You think death is cruel? Death is mercy. It's silence. Stillness. An end. But they gave me something worse. A coffin with no nails. A prison with no bars. A life that mocked itself. I was breathing, but I wasn't alive. Every day felt like drowning. With no water. Suffocating under the weight of nothing. Of no one. Of never. I was a ghost in my own skin. Drifting through days I didn't want. Speaking to people who didn't listen. Smiling with lips that forgot why they ever did. I screamed once. Loud. Raw. Tore my voice apart. And still, no one heard. Because no one was listening. Because no one cared. Because I wasn't real to them anymore. You want to know what madness feels like? It's not rage. It's not chaos. It's silence. Silence so deep, it eats you. You start whispering to the walls. You start begging shadows for company. You start to forget your own name and remember only the pain. Pain that doesn't leave bruises. Pain that doesn't bleed. Pain that just sits heavy, patient, cruel. I used to count hours, then I counted days. Then I stopped counting altogether because nothing changed. Because I didn't matter. Because I could vanish and the world wouldn't flinch. They moved on, laughed, lived. While I stayed buried, I wasn't broken, I was erased. There is a point where even pain becomes background noise, where the soul stops trying to escape and just lies still. That's where I went, not to hell. Hell has fire, hell has screams. This was worse. This was cold and quiet and endless. But somewhere, deep under the silence, beneath the weight, inside the grave they left me in, something began to stir. Not light, not love. Something darker, older, hungrier. I didn't rise because I healed. I didn't rise because I found peace. I rose because I had nothing left to lose. They buried me alive, but they forgot one thing. I learned to breathe underground. And now, I am the darkness they tried to silence, and I will never lie still again. At first it was nothing. A flicker, a breath, a tremor in the silence that had ruled me. Then it came again. Low, hungry, old, a growl not outside me. Within, a sound I hadn't heard in years. A sound I forgot I was capable of making. It wasn't hope. Hope died a long time ago. This was something else. Something worse. Something better. The silence started speaking back. It whispered things no one dared say. Things I had buried under obedience. Under fear. Under the illusion that if I was kind enough, quiet enough, soft enough, I would be spared. But mercy never came, and silence got tired of waiting. It started asking questions. Ugly questions. Loud ones. Why are you still kneeling? Why do you beg those who broke you? Why do you wear chains and call them comfort? I didn't answer. I listened, and with every whisper, something inside me shifted. Not healed. Awakened. It started in the bones, then the blood, then the breath. Something ancient, something primal. I remembered the taste of rage. Not chaos, not mindless fury. Sacred rage. Rage that knows what was stolen. Rage that remembers every lie dressed as love. It didn't roar, not yet. It coiled. It waited. It learned. And I let it grow. Because the silence, it wasn't a grave. It was a womb. They thought I was dead, but I was changing. They thought I was done, but I was becoming. The whispers weren't madness. They were truth. The kind I had silenced to keep others comfortable. To fit inside the small spaces they gave me. No more. Let them call it dangerous. Let them call it dark. Let them call it monstrous. They're right. Because I'm not who I was. Not the shell. Not the victim. Not the forgotten. I've heard the voice in the dark, and it sounds like me. The version of me that never begged. The version that doesn't break. The version that doesn't fear the fire. He becomes it. I see it now. All this time, I wasn't weak. I was contained. They feared what I might become, so they broke me before I could rise. I wasn't fragile. I was chained, caged behind guilt, behind doubt, behind their soft words that always meant control. They told me I was too much, too intense, too angry, too alive. But what they really meant was, I was too strong to obey. They called my fire dangerous because they couldn't stand the light it cast on their lies. They called my silence peace because they mistook my restraint for surrender. They thought I stayed down because I was broken. I stayed down because I was learning. Every scar, every betrayal, every quiet humiliation, it was never my undoing. It was the blueprint, the molding of something far greater than what they could comprehend. They took my name, my faith, my softness, and called it purification. But I see it now for what it was. Fear. They feared the day I would look in the mirror and see myself again. Not the version they crafted, not the obedient one, the real one, the one who remembers. I remember now, the strength that lived beneath the trembling, the beast that slept under all that kindness, the edge that mercy dulled, but never destroyed. They thought they could tame me by starving me of love, but all they did was teach me to feed on something stronger. Pain, solitude, resolve. Look at what they created. A man carved by suffering. A weapon built from every no, every not enough, every you'll never make it. I don't need their validation anymore. I don't need their forgiveness. I don't even need to be understood. They can whisper my name in fear. They can rewrite my story as villainy. It doesn't matter, because villains are just heroes who finally stopped asking for permission. I am not weak. I never was. They only mistook my patience for defeat, my silence for surrender, my kindness for frailty. But every second they looked down on me, every time they turned their backs, every time they laughed, I was growing teeth in the dark. And now, the cage is gone. The chains are dust. They didn't destroy me. They revealed me. And now that I remember who I am, as no one, nothing will ever silence me again. They gave me fire. I used it to melt the chains. They gave me pain. I shaped it into armor. They gave me silence. I learned to speak through the sound of my own breathing, steady, sharp, unshaken. I stopped waiting to be saved. Stopped hoping someone would see me. Stopped asking the world to play fair. Instead, I built. And I built. Pain was my forge, and I walked through it with open eyes. No prayers, no mercy, no map, just me. And the hunger to rise, to become something they couldn't crush, to turn every wound into a weapon. I trained in the shadows they left me in, alone, ignored, dismissed. But while they forgot me, I remembered everything. Every smirk, every insult. Every time they looked through me like I was air, I carved it into muscle, into grit, into unshakable fire. They said I'd never make it, so I made myself unstoppable. They said I'd never be enough, so I became too much. And I didn't scream, didn't complain, didn't explain. I just kept grinding, kept rising, kept becoming. Not softer, harder, sharper, colder. Because the world doesn't care how kind you are. It only kneels to those who refuse to break. So I broke the parts of me that begged for approval, tore out the need to be liked, burned the weakness that once called itself goodness. I became the storm I once feared, the steel I once prayed would save me. And now, there is no more doubt, no more fear, only purpose, only fire. You see, hell didn't destroy me. It introduced me to the part of myself that doesn't flinch, that doesn't bow, that doesn't care who's watching. I was not made in peace. I was made in war, in the furnace of everything they thought would kill me. And now I burn, not to be seen, not to be praised. I burn because it is all I know, because it is what I chose, because it is what built me. So let them stare, let them whisper, let them wonder how I survived. Tell them I didn't. Tell them I was reforged in hell, and I liked it. They wanted me soft. They wanted me small. They wanted me to whisper apologies into their palms. I returned with teeth. Forgiveness is a luxury, a soft word for the comfortable, Forgiveness is for men who never bled like I did, who never crawled from their own ruin, who never learned to count the cost of a life lived by other people's rules. Do not ask me to be gentle. Do not ask me to smile and nod. Do not ask me to tuck away the parts that hurt you. Mercy was never mine to give. Mercy was the tool of those who could afford to be kind. They were kind because they had nothing to lose. I have lost everything, so I take what remains. There is a clarity in choosing darkness, a clean line between what you will accept and what you will not. I have crossed that line. I embraced it, not because I am cruel by nature, but because cruelty is honest. I do not forgive the laughter that turned to knives. I do not forgive the promises sold as truth. I do not forgive the hands that pushed me into the dirt and then pretended they were helping. They called me bitter. They called me broken. They called me too much. I will call them by what they are, cowards who clipped wings to keep the sky small. You will say I am savage. I will wear that title like armor. Let them say it. Let them label me as monstrous. It suits me. Monsters do not apologize. Vengeance is not a whim. It is a verdict I pronounce on the life they built from my ruin. Not for sport, not for show, but because justice, as they understand it, never came. I will not be the one to forgive them and smooth the path back to grace. That is not my burden. They gave me no grace to return to. Listen closely. There is a lesson in my refusal. Do not mistake refusal for weakness. Do not mistake fury for madness. This is deliberate. This is measured. This is the cold arithmetic of survival. I do not close the book on them. I rewrite it. I change the ending. I remove their names from the footnotes. I take the chapters they stole, and I make them mine again. So let them fear what they made. Let them fear the wake of a man who chose not to forgive. Let them watch as their safety unravels. Because I do not forgive, and I will not forget. I am not broken. I am rebuilt. And I am not yours to destroy anymore. What stood here before, was soft, was waiting, was hoping for someone to see the good in me. That version died, and I buried him with my own hands. This is what rose in his place. Not healed, transformed. You see these scars? I wear them like a god wears thunder. Loud, unapologetics, unashamed. Every crack you tried to hide, I etched into stone. Every weakness you named, I sharpened into an edge. You wanted me afraid. You wanted me obedient. You wanted me to smile through my own unraveling. But I burned the mask. I broke the chains. I killed the lie. And now I stand in truth. Cold, clear, whole in a way I've never been before. I'm not searching for approval. Not craving acceptance. Not clinging to the edges of a world that never made space for me. I am the space now. I am the storm that doesn't ask permission. I am the fire that doesn't wait to be invited in. Let them say I changed. Let them whisper like cowards behind my back. Let them mourn the version of me that made their comfort a priority. Because he's not coming back. I've seen what I am. What I was always meant to be. Not a servant. Not a victim. Not a story written by someone else's hand. I took the pen. I set fire to the page. I wrote my name in smoke. No more bending. No more shrinking. No more smiling to make others feel safe. This is who I am now. A weapon carved from silence. A shadow they couldn't outrun. A reckoning shaped by every insult. Every betrayal. Every time they thought I'd stay down. I didn't survive to go back. I didn't crawl through hell to play nice. This voice, it won't tremble anymore. These hands, they don't shake. And this heart, it beats for me now. So let the world watch. Let them stare. Let them try to understand what I've become. They won't, because this version of me was never made to be understood. Only respected or feared. There is no in between. To those who fear me now, if you should, you thought I'd crawl. I learned to fly. You thought I'd break. I became unbreakable. You thought I'd vanish. I became the thing you see when you close your eyes at night. You fed me lies. You buried me in silence. You mocked my pain like it was entertainment. And now you whisper my name like a curse, as if it's a storm coming. as if it's death in the wind. Good. Let the fear stay. Let it choke you. Because I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not shrinking. I'm not playing the part you wrote for me in your pretty little tragedy. You had your fun. You had your laughs. You built your peace on my suffering. But every empire built on bones eventually collapses. And I remember every brick, every name, every smirk, every shadow you pushed me into. You want me to stop? Too late. You want me to forget? I remember everything. You want to run? Run. But I'm still coming. This isn't revenge. This is balance. This is what happens when the quiet one stops swallowing the fire. When the loyal one stops kneeling. When the broken one decides he's had enough. Look at me now. Tell yourself I went too far. Tell your friends I changed. But deep down, you know the truth. This is who I was all along. The part of me you tried to smother. Because you knew if I ever stopped doubting, if I ever stopped begging, if I ever remembered what I truly was, you would have nothing that could stand against me. So go on. Tell your stories. Rewrite history. Play the victim. It won't save you, because I'm not here for your version of justice. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm not here to be understood. I'm here to finish what you started. And when the smoke rises, when the silence falls, when you look around and see no one left to hide behind, know this. You created this. You nurtured the darkness. You sharpened the edges. You trained the very monster you now fear. And now, you have the audacity to run from it. Run. Trip if you must. Cry if you can. But don't pray. Not now. Not when I'm the one answering. They wrote my ending. I burned the page. They gave me a coffin. I turned it into a throne. They gave me silence. I turned it into a voice that echoes through eternity. I am not broken. Not lost. Not dead. I am reborn. Not the way they imagined. Not the way heroes are born from hope. No. I was born from fire, from ruin, from the ash of every version of me that couldn't survive. Do you understand what that means? It means I no longer chase light. I am the light, and the darkness that holds it. I have seen death, shaken its hand, stared into its hollow eyes and whispered, "Not yet." It blinked first. You see, they think rebirth is gentle, that it's peace after chaos. But rebirth is violent. It's the sound of the old world cracking open. It's the scream of a soul, remembering who it truly is. It's the death of innocence and the birth of power. I have died many times, in trust, in love, in hope. And every time, I came back sharper, colder, truer. I don't need redemption. I don't need forgiveness. I don't need to prove myself to a world that feasts on weakness. Because I am beyond their reach now. Beyond their gods, beyond their judgment. I am not the man who begged for mercy. I am not the one who feared the fire. I am the fire, and I will burn until the stars forget how to shine. Look closely. You won't find the same eyes, the same heart, the same soul. That man is gone. He served his purpose, to die so that I could live. I am not born of love. I am born of war, of will, of the refusal to die quietly. There is no rage left, no vengeance, only clarity, only power. I don't hate them anymore. They're irrelevant now. Spectators of a story they no longer control. They can curse my name. They can call me cruel, mad, heartless, but their words fall short. Because I am not in their world anymore. I have transcended it. They tried to bury me in endings. I became the beginning. So let the world turn. Let kingdoms fall. Let gods fade into dust. I remain, unshaken, unyielding, reborn, not in their image, not in their mercy, but in my own design. I am not broken, not lost, not dead. I am everything they feared I'd become, and everything I was always meant to be. I am reborn, and this time, I don't rise, I ascend.